Mallory, I think I need a bookcation.
I think everybody does.
How did you get this idea for bookcations?
So it's kind of a long story, but honestly, it stemmed from I came back to reading fiction. I had stopped reading fiction for maybe like 10 years. And I had just had my daughter. I was in this new season of life, kind of post COVID, right? And just missing something. And I was seeing everybody on Instagram talking about Colleen Hoover, and all these like authors. And I thought, I kind of miss that. I'm going to like go dip my toe in. Like, let's go to the library, get a book, see what I think. And I had been like an avid reader my whole life up until that time when I stopped reading it. So it felt like coming home. Like I finished that book in like 24 hours.
Which
My,
book?
it was The People We Meet on Vacation by Emily
Yes,
Henry.
I read that one. Okay.
And my husband was like, "What's happening?" Because in the time that we started dating, I had stopped reading fiction. So he didn't know me as like a reader. So I was like just falling back in love with reading fiction. But I really loved connecting with other people about it. Like because I was reading it, I was able to kind of reconnect and cultivate relationships with friends and acquaintances that I hadn't talked to in years because of our love of reading. And again, I was a young mom, like my daughter who was 1 year old, and I was finding I could only really read during nap time or like after she went to bed. And I was craving uninterrupted reading time, not centered around her schedule, and also being able to connect with others. So I remember a few months after I started reading, I saw this meme on Instagram, and I'm going to butcher it, but it was something like, can we all normalize bachelor parties where we all just go read silently together and then talk about what we're reading at night? And I sent it to a bunch of friends and I was like, wouldn't that be, so fun? And everyone said, yeah. And then I thought, wait, I like really want to do that. So I decided I came up with a weekend and a place I wanted to do it. I texted a bunch of friends and most of them were like, yes, oh my gosh, I'm in. But a few of them were like, oh, I'm not free that weekend. Let me know when you do another one. And I was like, do another one. Like I was just thinking I would do this one time. Is this something that people want? And then that's kind of where this idea came of like, is this something I could create for people? Are there other people out there like me who are in this season of life, or even not, just people who love reading, who want a weekend away to just do that? And that's kind of how the idea came to be.
How long ago was this?
That was February 2023.
Okay. So you had your first one, and it's really just like you and your friends, you texting friends, right? And what did that look like?
So I actually right away wanted to create it into a business. Like okay, once I realized that this was something that could be for everybody. So I called up two of my friends because I know my skills and my gifts and talents, and I knew that event planning was not something I had ever had any experience in. And I have a girlfriend who loves to read, who had experience event planning. So I called her up, and I have a friend who loves travel and loves reading. And so I called her up and I was like, guys, I have this idea. I kind of want you to be a part of it. And they were like, Mallory, hold on, like hold the horses. How about we like do some research first? Like, what do people want when they are looking to get away for a weekend? Let's try to figure out how this could look. Let's do some unofficial ones before we just jump in and start doing it big time. So, we did. We kind of did some research to ask people about what the price point, if they were to go away for a weekend, a girls' weekend, what price point are they at? Where would they like to go if you were to go to a reading weekend or a weekend centered around reading? How long would you like to read for? What kind of activities would you like to see? So we were kind of, getting all this research and this data and decided to host one a few months later with just some of our friends. So it ended up being 10 people. And we were truly like the hosts of it. We got an Airbnb. We didn't let anybody cook. Like we did everything so everyone else could just sit and read and relax. And it was so much fun. But I was like, I do not want to be cooking for everyone. Like, this is not how I see vocation being, even though it gave me such great experience to know like how to format it, like how the itinerary should look and things like that. It also let me know how I don't want it to be. And like, my gifts and talents are not in cooking. I'm not going to cook for a bunch of people, especially if I want this to be something where there is upwards of like 100 people at a retreat. Like that's not feasible. So we did a few more unofficial ones, but last summer is when I decided to really like run with this and create one for everybody, like a public, open to the public retreat. And then we had our first one this past April 2025.
Before we get to the one you just had, let's talk about the one where you're like, I guess you're calling it or referring to it as more internal than being open to the public. How did you fill that? Do you just have a huge circle of reading friends?
Honestly, a lot of my friends do love reading, and I don't think I like acquired them because of that, but it just kind of happened that I'm a big reader, and the people that I love also love to read. So I think I had three or four friends. One of my other friends brought a sister, and another person brought like two people. So that's how it kind of came to be.
And what did you learn that people like and that people don't like ahead of you planning the April retreat?
Everybody loved the ability to read uninterrupted in a beautiful location. Like the ability to get away for a weekend and forget about your adult responsibilities and also have an opportunity to talk with other people who love reading, but not be like forced to talk about it. It was very organic. One of my favorite memories of that first one is all of us sitting in a big room that had a lot of couches and we're all just like reading silently to ourselves. And then someone would poke their head up and say something about what they were reading or something, and we'd all kind of talk about it for like 10 minutes, and then we'd all just go back to silently reading. And people really loved that aspect of it, just like the relaxation of it. We did a book club for that first one, and everyone really loved that. And we had like a matching drink. We did lessons in chemistry, and so we created like a chemistry style drink to do with it. So people really loved coming together at certain times over the weekend to like have a structured, discussion or a structured activity. But ultimately, it was about being able to do what you wanted that weekend when you wanted to do it.
That's very cool. Now, for the lessons in chemistry example, did you like create some kind of group online before then to tell everybody, hey, we're going to do a book club on site about lessons in chemistry if you haven't read it yet?
When we decided on that first unofficial bookcation, I created like emails. I was sending out emails to everybody. And so they knew ahead of time that this was going to be the book, but we did actually do a vote. Danny, Amy, and I all chose a book and we like sent it to the group and everybody voted on what they wanted the book to be. And that's how we chose it. And so then we just said, have it read if you want to participate. It's not mandatory. If you'd like to participate, have it read by the time you get there. And that's how we decided on that.
Okay, so tell me about the logistics of April, what the location was, how you picked it, what you did. You're not cooking for people. How are we being fed? All the things.
So I live in like the northwestern suburbs of Chicago, and when this idea first came to me, the very first resort I thought of was the Grand Geneva in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I've never actually stayed there, but I know of it because it's so close to me. It's like a 45-minute drive. And I went there once to have dinner with my husband for his birthday, but we didn't stay. We like went for dinner and then we left, and it must have left a really big impression on me to have that be the thought, like, that could be the first place somewhere in the Midwest, since I'm assuming most people who come would probably be people I know or people in the Midwest. This is kind of a good location for that. And then it came into, okay, now I have to actually learn how to host a retreat because I'm good at gathering people, I'm good at connecting with people and creating community. But like if I'm going to run something and be the person in charge of running an event that's at a hotel, like that's a skill set I don't have yet. And so I found an online course by somebody who runs retreats like professionally and learned all about how to go about doing that, which was so helpful because that helped me figure out the price point, the itinerary, a little bit more, the kind of communication that needs to happen for everybody, leading up to it. Um, so that's kind of what happened is I like reached out to the Grand Geneva a year ago now, and I'm so grateful for them because I probably sounded just, I was like, this is the first time I'm doing something. Let me try to explain a reading retreat. And I feel like people who love to read, you get it right away. But if you don't love to read, you're kind of like, what is that? So I
Who
was like,
are
how
these
do
weirdos wanting to come here and not speak to each other and just read books?
we literally one of the event staff who was helping at the event at the end, they were like, so why is everyone here? And I was like, it's a reading retreat, so we're all here to read. And they were like, so you're just reading books? And I was like, yes.
Yeah, bro, we
Yeah,
are.
that's us. And she was like, this would not be for me. And I was like, probably not. So I'm so grateful for the Grand Geneva and the communication I had with them. They were so awesome to work with and helping me understand the logistics of that side of things because it was my first time doing that. Um, And so, yeah, that's kind of how it all came to be. I took an online course to really learn more about how to structure things and how to run it from the event planner perspective. And then worked with the Grand Geneva and bounced ideas off of friends who had come to the other ones to kind of get their opinion on things. But I feel I'm still adjusting, right? I'm still like, we had our one in April, we have one in October. I have two already planned for the spring of 2026. And I think I'm just going to constantly be learning about how I can tweak things, how I can make things better, how I can communicate better. And I'm okay with that because I think it's a pretty great experience. And if there's just little tweaks I have to make along the way, like that's okay.
How did you fill the one in April?
So I mainly did social media and email marketing. That's all I did. And we had 34 women come from 8 different states,
That's
which was
amazing.
kind of crazy. I only knew half of the people who came. Like they were somehow personally connected to me in some way, but there was half the people I didn't know. Some people came solo, some people came with friends, and it was the most amazing weekend. And I just felt like I cried the whole time. I was just so overwhelmed with happiness of like this thing, this dream coming to fruition. But yeah, it all really stemmed from Instagram mainly. I asked everybody kind of when they signed up, I had like a form to kind of learn their reading preferences and things like that. And one of the questions was, how did you find out about Bookcation? And most everybody either said family or friend, because they were my family or friend, or Instagram or social media.
Yeah, that's how I found out about you. And since, I mean, I've seen maybe a few others that do, I mean, they're obviously all called different things, but they have the bookcation kind of vibes like you do. Like I saw one recently and it was a Taylor Swift themed bookcation in Kansas City.
I
And
saw that one too.
I
I saw
was,
that.
yes, I was like, if I wasn't so far, I'd be down with that. Like, what are we like half reading, half searching for Travis and Taylor around Kansas City? Like, it's just such a cool concept. And I love that you were like, yeah, this is something I want to do. And you pulled the trigger and you made it happen. Tell me, so that's awesome that you filled it with 34 people. I can attest to seeing it on Instagram. That's why I'm talking to you now. Tell me the kinds of things you learned specifically, maybe do's and don'ts in April, or things you loved that happened, or feedback you got from people in April.
I felt like it was such a special group of people, and I felt like I'm not that much of a crier. So the fact that I was very emotional on like Friday when I gave my little speech and Saturday too, I think everyone just really understood like the heart behind this. Like this has been something I've been dreaming about for 2 years, and now we're all here, and they trusted me to like create this experience for them. So it was so special. And so from the attendee perspective, everybody when in their feedback form afterwards said they loved being able to just do what they wanted for the weekend. There were optional activities. They didn't have to participate. They loved meeting new people. On the second night, we had a sit by your genre. So you were always sitting with people who had the same favorite, genre as you, and people loved that aspect of it. So that you could truly get into like, the indie authors and everything you love. We did a blind book exchange Saturday night, and it was optional, but everyone chose to participate. And that was probably my favorite part because we had already been kind of creating these relationships throughout the weekend. So as everyone's opening their books, they're going to find the person who gifted it to them to talk about it or to thank them. And so it was so wonderful to step back and watch these connections happen, which was the goal of this. Vocation is about relaxation and connection. So I think the attendees loved the connection part, the being able to make the weekend what you wanted. I always want to do them at resorts so that there's a spa because as women, we do not go treat ourselves as much as we should.
I am
And so,
here for a spa anywhere I
right? So a lot of people who had gone to the spa said they really loved the ability to do that. For me, on my side of things, I learned about the ways that I should be communicating with the venue and not assuming things. Right. And like always asking questions, ask more questions and not just think that like, oh, I heard someone say that 3 months ago, so that'll hold up. Like I had asked somebody, could I do welcome gifts when people arrive? If they were not personalized, could you hand things to somebody, when they check in, hoping I could give them the itinerary and a cookie. And then when I got there, they were like, no, we don't do that. And I was like, okay, gotta pivot. So little things like that where like I should have followed up and been more specific and more like, okay, let's find out, what's happening. So there were a lot of things that I learned that I could do better at in terms of that and the logistics of it. But ultimately, I think everybody had a really wonderful time. I did too.
I want to get into October, but before then, I want you to tell me about because starting a business can be stressful. And I think, as a business owner myself, what makes it stressful is when you put in an investment of money more so than time, and you're like, shit, I don't know if I'm going to get this back. And it's like scary. Can
Yeah.
you talk to me about that? Because I feel like for you, because I've talked to people who have independent bookstores and things like that, that's obviously a much bigger cash investment up front because they have a brick and mortar they're in charge of, or they're building out a book trailer or a book bus, whatever. For you, I know there's a cash investment, but it's also a little different because they're booking their hotel and whatnot. So talk to me about your investment. Obviously, we talked about your time, but how about money? Like, is that a scary thing? Are you investing a lot? What are you investing in?
So originally, at the very beginning, the investment was in those courses that I was taking, right, in order to learn more. Which to me, I mean, I have a background in sales and a little bit of entrepreneurship, so I understand that you need to invest in order to get back. So for me, it was a no-brainer to invest in these courses and things in order for me to learn more about how I can execute properly. Um, and then honestly, it was like legal things, right? Like having to pay to like be a legal business. I paid for like a branding photo shoot with someone that I knew. But then the deposit for the Grand Geneva was 10% of what my minimum was, which to me was totally doable and not a scary number. So I felt like really good about that. What got scary was that then when I started booking other hotels, their deposit policies were a little different. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, now I'm really investing in something. I need to make sure people come to it. But ultimately, like the swag that everybody gets at the retreats and the printed materials and the things that people's registration covers happened after I got everybody's registration. So that also kind of changed things in terms of, okay, I'm not spending my own money, I'm spending the money I allocated from their registration for these things. Um, but it's been a little bit scary with the ones that I booked for 2026 because Grand Geneva is 45 minutes away from me. To me, it doesn't seem like I'm making this huge trip somewhere because it's like in my backyard. But the fact that I'm going to be flying to North Carolina and flying to Colorado for these next ones, and I had to put down deposits that were a lot bigger than the one I had to do for Grand Geneva is kind of scary. But I just keep remembering that people are excited about this by the people following me on social media, the people commenting, even my own friends who are like, oh, I want to go to that one. And I know people who live there and they'd probably want to come. So I just keep reassuring myself that like this is something that I feel really passionate about. It's something I've worked hard for, and I'm good at creating community and connection. And it's something that comes naturally to me. And I know that other people are craving that in this post-COVID world. And I'm willing to do it for a few years and see what happens. Now, I think it's going to keep going. I'm not planning to stop anytime soon, but like I'm in it for the next few years to create something and create a following that will give people this experience.
Tell me about what's happening in October. Where are we going? What are we doing?
So it's the same place. I'm doing it at the Grand Geneva again. And that was mainly because I wanted two retreats this year in 2025. And I wanted them in a place that I felt comfortable with, where I could really focus on hammering out the little details, right? Like really get two under my belt in a place that I don't have to fly to in order to then move forward in 2026 with other places. So same location as before. And I know you interviewed Alicia with the Lakeside mobile bookstore a few weeks ago, and we had her come to our April retreat as like a little fun personalized shopping experience, and she's going to come back in October as well. But what I'm really excited about for October is we have Lane Fargo, the author of The Favorites, who is
Yes.
from Chicago, coming to lead our book club discussion on The Favorites. So I'm
That's
kind of freaking
amazing. How
out.
did you get that? Did you just like DM her like, hey, I got this thing. You want to swing by?
Yeah, I messaged her, and this was again a new thing, totally out of my comfort zone, and have no experience in like how people should be paid for things. Like I don't know. So I reached out to her on her website and just kind of explained like I know you're in Chicago, this is happening in Lake Geneva. This is the time commitment would be. Like let me know if you're free. And she was like, I am free. Like please let me know more about like the time commitment, what you expect, to happen and your budget. And that's when I was like, my budget.
Like,
I
oh
don't know.
shit, I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
what my budget is.
Like I was hoping you would tell me your budget so then I could,
Right.
So I was talking to a local like bookstore owner that I know going back and forth being like, have you had to do this? What should I do? And I got back to her and I said, it will be probably about an hour long discussion. I think it would be really amazing if you're free, if you could like sign some books maybe afterwards, or we do a little Q&A. I think that would be a really special experience. And then I was like, I think within the budget, because I had already started registration. So I couldn't really like adjust the registration price or the pricing schedule at all. And so I kind of did some math and I said, I'd love to offer you $300 and I'd love to treat you to lunch if you'd like before the book club. And if you would rather, not, I could give you a gift card to the resort to use, at your leisure. And then I just prayed. And then I was like, please, this would be amazing. And she sent back, she said, that sounds amazing. I'd love to have lunch with you. It's on my books now, and let's get in touch in a few weeks to finalize things.
Tell me what book you're currently reading and what the last best book you read was.
Hmm. Currently, I'm halfway through Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I spent all of June reading a fantasy series that I didn't think would take me that long. So July is all about romance. I'm just in my romance era in July.
What was the fantasy series?
The Plated Prisoner
Okay.
series
I don't know that one.
by Raven Kennedy.
Okay.
It's 6 books and it's finished and it's on Kindle Unlimited. So that was really the big. I like refuse to read unfinished series because I hate doing that to myself.
I don't do that often. I'm doing it now with a hockey romance with Stephanie Archer's Vancouver Storm, but I started when there were 3 books published, and she just did the 4th one, and we have one more to go. So I'm kind of caught up. But anywho, okay.
Anyway, yeah,
So
so that's
Red, White, and Royal Blue, I've heard of that one. That's a popular one. It's a TV show or a movie or something too.
yes, I'm excited. I feel like when I grew up, my mom always made me read the book before we could see the movie.
You have to, or else it's like, what's the point?
So I still feel very strongly like it's like
Yeah,
ingrained in me that I need to read before I watch. So I
same.
am excited to watch the movie. But my favorite book of 2025 is The House in the Cerulean Sea by
Everybody
CJ.
talks about this, and I like the cover, and I've read the description, and I'm not yet sold, so sell me.
Hey, it made my mama heart burst. I have a background in special education. It made my teacher heart burst. It made me laugh out loud and I cried and I thought it was so beautiful because the message of it as a whole was about society and about how we treat people who are different. And I'm gonna cry like thinking about it. I love this book so much. And it was like the 3rd book I read in 2025. And I was like, I already know it's gonna be the top one. I
But will
didn't
it
like
make me sad? Like, will I be disturbed? I don't want to read books that make me feel like that. Like, I have a friend telling me to read A Little Life, I think is what it's called. And everybody's like, oh, this book will break you. You will just be in like a book hangover forever. And everybody's bawling. And I'm like, why would I want to do that to myself?
I don't think it'll be that. I think the sadness came from being a very empathetic person and reading about people being mistreated because they're different when in reality they are also
I don't
just
want to read that. I will be so disturbed.
all right. But then it like all turns out like it all comes around. It's a very heartwarming story at the end.
Okay.
But if that's not the vibe, then I wouldn't read it.
Like, this is how I feel about books like that. Like, I feel like we deal with so much of that in real life. Why do I want to read, even if it's fiction, like it's real life, why do I want to read about it?
That is very fair. That's very fair. Maybe you skip that one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but everybody loves that book.
It was, I mean, I'm not somebody who usually reads for the message of a book. Like I want to read romance.
Like, I want to be entertained.
Yeah, like I'm here for the spice. But I do like fantasy and I had heard good things. And that was one where like the message I felt was really clear. It wasn't something I had to like analyzed very much. Like it was very clear. And as someone who's a background in special education where people who are different can sometimes be treated differently, I think that was another thing that really hit home. And so I don't know, it was perfection to me.
Let's end with your advice for people who want to start a bookish business.
I think, and maybe it's cliche, but like the timing is never going to be right. No matter what, like the lights aren't always going to be green. Your brain is always going to tell you how this is risky, how it's too risky, how you shouldn't do it. But I think that if you have a passion for something and a willingness to learn how to make it work, anything is possible.